Hello. So, my name's Marley. This is Servicehood Part 2 video that I am making. To further describe my testimony of how I was subjected to some type of spiritual servicehood with this lady from Morningstar that I was trained up by. So, just to get down to the details, if you go to the www.mstar.church website, their main website, there's this profile on there that says Kate Snagriff or Snigriff or something like that. Anyway, she's the blondest person there, I believe. Which is ironic because I'm not the blonde. Never mind that. So, back into the testimony. The meeting that we had, I was never given an explanation for why I had so many restrictions and everything, but for some reason Kate thought it was an idea. And she thought it was a good one. I thought it was a crappy one, but what kind of input am I allowed to give? I'm a student. I should probably just shut up. Which is pretty much the basics of what I had to deal with for 2.5 years. So through that week, my restrictions was automatically, I can't go rafting, which was actually a real bummer because rafting was probably one of the reasons I really wanted to go to camp. But in all honesty, I was allowed to raft a little bit, but the restriction was because, unexplanatory reasons. Kate just restricted me from going rafting the full way like the other campers because she thought I wasn't really actively listening, and so what's that? But the real clincher is everything that went down the morning of July 24th, 2014, which, correct me if I'm wrong, could have been a Friday or a Saturday. One of the two, because it was by the end of the week, and we arrived at the camp in Tide Valley on a Saturday. I think it was the 18th we were entered in. So, the last day camp. Now this is a really important detail that I'll admit flat out where I was guilty. So I can lay it out on the board. So that morning, at 7 o'clock in the morning, just like every other day, we were supposed to be getting up at 7 a.m. Where is that? At 7 a.m. in the morning, we were supposed to be getting up to the sound of music. We built this city on rock and roll. We built this city. It's funny, I actually, even with my little bit of, even with my memory kind of deal, you could call me Dory if you want to, I still remember the particular song I woke up to. We built this city on rock and roll. We built this city. So I was actually refusing to get up. And genius me at the age of 17 who thought she knew what she was doing. In all honesty, I really didn't, because not only did I stay in my tent, but I used a little black hair tie that I had throughout that week to try closing my tent, hoping at some point, like, nobody could open my tent because I'm such a genius. And I just simply laid back down. And then I hear Kate's voice. Oh, by the way. Yeah. So, yeah. That was my mentor's name. Caitlin Michelle Kinney. Anyway. She came to my tent personally herself to wake me up. Which I'm not sure if that was like irritation or encouragement, but I'll take it both ways, whatever. She came to wake me up in my tent because at first hand I was refusing to go home because at home I wasn't getting along with my stepdad, who throughout my life up until then was mentally and physically abusive, but he never got arrested for it or charged with anything. But honestly, the deal with my stepdad is completely irrelevant right now. I'm actually living with him today, but we're on better terms. Anyway, so Kate got me up and out of my tent, and even though it seemed like she was casually fixing my tent up for me, because, you know, like automatically assuming I didn't know how, I thought that was kind of cool, so I gathered my stuff together. She was nice enough to tie my hair tie of sort, because my hair tie snapped in the process somewhere. And for the rest of the day, it was probably one of the oddest days I've ever lived, because when I was getting in line for breakfast, I was kind of walking around. So, and you know about those kind of people in your life that should be there to let you know like what kind of medications you need to take, how they should be. The proper way of doing it is going to your student privately to remind them. I wish that's what would have happened, but it's not. Because in the middle of me eating my breakfast, I think it was like cereal and a banana, I'm not 100% sure. Kate decides to get up on a stage, and somebody gave her the frickin' microphone. And there are over 200 campers there, plus staff. Plus probably like 215 plus people, or 225, I don't care. And she thought it was a brilliant idea to like announce my name and mentioning the medication I had to take that morning, which, by the way, I learned later in life when I went to go work for Walmart on Commercial Street. That would be of HIPAA violations. That doesn't show any form of care for my medical needs or my health. But nobody called her out on that. They acted like that was all fine and dandy. Like, who cares? So, the process going on through that day is, oh, trust me, I believe I took my medication at that point, but she's not here to comment what it is, and if she did, I'll delete it. Anyway, going on through that day, the winning team throughout that week didn't have to do any like camp cleanup, but apparently I wasn't really like the star camper or something, and my team we didn't win. So I was supposed to be on the cleanup crew before going home, and Kate approaches me face to face, and she tells me something specific for me to do because I'm kind of like a wanderer. I just look around to see what's available and what's not. Like, what can I do? What should I not be doing? Kind of deal. And she specifically sends me to this, like, if anybody from here was at Great Escape with me, at some point I'm getting this building wrong. Forgive me, it's been, like, a long time. I believe they called it the Tin Can. A sort that was, like, almost right next to the little kitchen barn, I think it was, but I'm going off of memory. And the Tin Can is where I met this guy, this kid about, I later found out is my age, named Andre, who was a camper there in the same grade I was. And this is actually the first time I met Andre. And yeah, so we partnered up and we cleaned up the tin can, and we were sweeping, and I think that's all we were doing, but yeah. So once that whole thing was done, we had some kind of conversation, but I completely forgot what we were discussing. So, moving on from that, when the camp was finally cleaned up, and I've already had my breakfast, and it's time to go home, well, genius me wasn't really gonna stop there to try not going home, because I was rebellious at that time, and I still kind of got a rebellious bone in me somewhere, but I'm trying to contain it. Trust me, I'm really trying to this time around. So I grabbed my sleeping bag, and I think I had a backpack of some sort. I just grabbed my stuff, and I thought it was a genius idea to take all of my stuff and just tossing it, like in a haystack of some sort on the edge side of camp, which would have been probably right around the corner from the girls' area that I was sleeping in. Well, that didn't really get me anywhere, because eventually, or instantly, Michael and Kristen Engelking, who at that time were the directors, but unfortunately they were also Kate's friends, so I could see that she uses personal relationships as a way of putting me down because she's so special and I'm not. The three of them found my stuff and saw me, and I was getting the feeling of bad news. So I took my stuff to Big White. That's what they called it. The truck that was holding all the student stuff. And Kate escorted me there. It wasn't a physical escort, but it was most like just talking to me. And I can't, not necessarily saying that she was really harsh on the way up to Big White, but it seemed like it seemed like there was still a pretty positive vibe in that moment. But what the real clincher was is that during that same time, I genuinely had to use the bathroom. Because because after eating breakfast, for some reason, I've got to go. So the two of us are on the way from the big white to the bathrooms, which was just a little straw, kind of like a little trot of some sort past the stage. And me and her are in the middle of this, kind of on the semi-middle field, nearing the bathrooms and the stage, and Kate decides that she's going to stop me in the middle of it. And so here I am facing the bathrooms, which is where I'm trying to go, and Kate's facing me. And she's making it really clear at this rate that she's the boss, she's big, I'm small, I'm student, I don't know what I'm doing, kind of deal. Now let me explain something to you about this confrontation. I have lived 25 years dealing with difficult authorities. I don't have the greatest relationship with my older siblings. And I think my older sister is the authoritative kind. Oh, great. But I haven't seen her in almost 20 years. Hi, Candace. But bottom line is, even though at that time she was probably the only staff member there I trusted because of our relations, with everything that went down, I don't know how long this took.